Heather, you are now on. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Amanda. All right, just going to share my screen here. Wonderful. So thank you everyone for joining us today. It's lovely to see you all. So welcome to my webinar. So this is entitled Luck is No Accident, Making the Most of Happenstance in Your Career. So I, Heather Kim Andrews, am the host for today. And so we've all heard the saying, life is a journey and not a destination. Well, the same can be said for our careers, where multiple factors influence our career decisions and what path we ultimately decide to take. And in today's competitive job market, students especially need to have an open mind and be willing to try different opportunities once they leave university. So this webinar, Planned Happenstance, will highlight this concept and how it applies to you and the critical skills that will help you capitalize on unexpected or chance events. So just before the presentation, I want to begin with a land acknowledgement specific to our BC campus, which is the one we are attached to. And so we acknowledge that the land Yorkville University operates on in British Columbia is the traditional unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples of the Kwantlen, Musqueam, and Kwaitkwait First Nations. We reaffirm our responsibility to increase awareness and understanding of First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples and colonial legacy, and commit to strengthening our relationship with Indigenous peoples throughout Canada. And so just a bit about me before we go ahead and get started. So I am the career advisor for the New Brunswick campus, and I assist with the MEd, the MACP, the DCP, and the BID students. I have a master's degree in educational counseling, as well as the career development practitioner certificate. And previous to this role, I worked as a co-op coordinator for arts co-op students at the University of British Columbia. And I also worked as an employment counselor for Work BC. And prior to that career, I worked for 14 years in research, specializing in mental health and health sciences. And essentially, I have a passion for helping students just like you in your career journeys and finding meaningful work. And so here's what we'll cover in the webinar today. First of all, I'll talk about the background of career theories and what we know, then the present job market. Next, I'll discuss the theory of planned happenstance for a better understanding of it. And we all like to hear success stories, especially when they're inspirational. So I'll also touch on those. Next, I'll talk about various strategies and approaches students can use to create their own luck and capitalize on chance events. And finally, I'll leave you with some take-home points, and I'll be more than happy to take your questions at the very end. All right, so every webinar I like to get to know the audience just a little bit better. And so I just wanted to put it out there and ask, how is everyone doing today? How is everyone feeling? So if everyone could kindly go to menti.com and enter in the code that's written at the top of the slide, that'll be wonderful. Oh, wow, I'm seeing great. I really like that. All right. So would love to hear from a few more people. I mean, I love that first answer. I mean, it makes me feel great to hear great. So I hear awesome, good, great. Oh, wow. Wow, thanks for the responses, guys. Really like this. Okay, perfect. Cool, haha, chilly. Oh, I hope it's not cold where you are right now. Might be, huh? Okay, good. All right, well, thank you so much for the lovely answers, everyone. And I just want to share that I feel completely excited and really enthralled to be here today and to meet all of you. Great. All right, so the traditional model of career planning, as we know, and something most of us are familiar with, is the trait and factor theory of occupational choice. This is the belief that matching a person's individual traits, their skills, abilities, interests to available jobs in their labor market will be optimal for the individual, and they will perform at their best and be successful. And so how this looks is we go to school, we pick a career, and we continue on that path until retirement. That's the process most of us are familiar with. However, planned happenstance takes a different approach and stipulates that unpredictable and unplanned events can lead to rewarding careers, and that is acceptable to be indecisive, as this fosters a sense of open-mindedness. And when unplanned life events happen, it is important to see the new opportunities that can result for the individual in their career path. And so planned happenstance encourages exploration in our careers and to capitalize on chance events. So you can see how it's a little different from the traditional model. It kind of thinks more outside of the box, which is something I really like. And so a keyword of planned happenstance is serendipity, which is defined as finding something good without looking for it, or the occurrence and development of events by chance in a happy or beneficial way. So if we use this in context, we could say they found each other through serendipity, or the invention of penicillin, which is an antibiotic, was serendipitous. And so in essence, serendipity means finding something good without looking for it, and that directly ties into planned happenstance. And so if we look at our current job market for a second, it is evident why planned happenstance is so applicable. So for instance, in light of COVID-19, more work is performed remotely, and there is a rise in e-commerce and automation more than before. And because of this, it is predicted that 25% more workers may need to consider a major job change. Further, the role of technology and AI has terminated as well as created new jobs. And finally, pandemic and technology aside, it's quite normal for most people to change their careers multiple times in their lifetime for reasons such as the need for greater challenges, a bigger paycheck, burnout, less stress, advancement, etc. And this actually segues into my second question for the audience, which is, how often will people change jobs in their lifetime on average? And so if everyone could please go back to menti.com and enter in the code at the top of the slide, I would love to see your best guess. And remember, there are no, okay, great, I'm seeing one answer, that's great, really great guess, okay. 4, okay, thank you so much. Really like these answers. So I'm seeing 2 for 7 and 3 for, oh wow, sorry, pardon. I'm seeing 5 for 7 and 3 for 4. Do we have any more responses? I'm going to share the result with you in just a second. Really appreciate your answers, everyone. This is great. Okay, so are we ready for the answer? Okay, I really like these answers. 1, 2, 3. So the average person will change jobs at least 12 times in their lifetime. That is a lot of movement, but also an opportunity to collect multiple transferable skills you can take into your next job or life chapter. And so we must always be prepared at all times for sudden life and job changes and to adapt ourselves accordingly. Wonderful answers, everyone, and thank you so much for sharing. All right, and so all this relates to the theory of planned happenstance by Dr. John Crumboltz, who was an American university professor. And his theory stipulates that it is beneficial to be open to unplanned or unforeseen events in your career journey and to use those events and circumstances as opportunities for career growth. At the same time, one shouldn't rely on destiny or fate to make their decisions for them, but to constructively act upon a potential opportunity when it is present and available, and in a sense, create your own luck. In our ever-changing job market, it is essential to manage life transitions in our careers and to be mindful of the external factors that can have an impact in our lives and in our decisions. So for instance, I like to share my story of planned happenstance from my professional and personal experience, and that is in 2021, I was working as an employment counselor for a nonprofit organization, and a friend and colleague had notified me that they were contacted over LinkedIn about a potential career advisor position for the Career Services Department with Yorkville University. So they were not interested in the position, but had referred me instead, as they knew my career interests and how I wanted to get back to working with post-secondary students for quite a long time, and thought this could be a great opportunity. So I immediately contacted the employer. I introduced myself and expressed my sincere interest in working as a career advisor for post-secondary students, which led to an informational interview, then which later resulted in a formal interview and eventually a job offer that I wholeheartedly accepted. And that same job is the position I have right now as the career advisor for the New Brunswick campus of Yorkville University. So you can see how I created my own luck by taking advantage of a chance and acting strategically on it. And so another way of understanding planned happenstance theory is by breaking down the wording, and so it's more clear, as I know it might sound a little contradictory in just how those words are lined up. And so the word planned entails making decisions and acting on them. Happen means to occur by chance and unexpected and something that is beyond our control. And stance is the point of view taken, in this case, open-minded, and going down the path of opportunity and seeing where it leads. And so for those of us who have visited a career counselor in school, if we say that we don't know what we want to do with our careers or what we want to be in the future, the counselor will help us by trying to find an adequate career fit based on our interests and strengths. And this is the traditional method, which is fine. However, as I mentioned earlier, planned happenstance supports the notion that it is all right to be indecisive when it comes to selecting a career choice, and that you don't have to have a solid answer to the proverbial question, what do you want to be when you grow up? Because unplanned events in our careers can and will happen all the time. And it's important to still have a goal or a dream. However, it's also important to stay cognizant when those dreams or goals don't go the way we planned, and when to take a step back and to reevaluate, seek consultation, and be open to new opportunities, and so we don't get stuck. And being indecisive regarding your career is seen as being open-minded and being exploratory and exposed to new situations, fosters a sense of personal growth and self-identity. Also, asking questions is highly encouraged to expand your knowledge base, as opposed to finding a definite solution and not committed to a formal plan. And essentially, you want to maintain a careful balancing act of actively searching and doing your career exploration and job searching, but also at the same time being open to new and unexpected opportunities, as opposed to leaving it all up to chance. All right, so in order to make the most of unplanned events, it is important to cultivate these 5 critical skills that will help you capitalize, recognize, and create career opportunities from unexpected or chance events in your career journey. So the first is curiosity, by exploring new learning opportunities and having an open mind to new experiences. The second is persistence, by exerting effort despite setbacks. So for example, if you failed an exam or if a job didn't work out the way you thought and you had to leave, you need to still keep going and stay focused and determined in your career path. The third is flexibility and changing your attitudes and circumstances when needed, and having a growth mindset as opposed to a fixed mindset. And so a growth mindset being open to feedback, believing that you can change and grow from an experience will benefit you a lot more than a fixed mindset that goes along the lines of thinking that you can't change and that things are either one way or another. And the fourth is having optimism by viewing new opportunities as possible and attainable. And so always want to accentuate the positive in all situations. And risk-taking by taking action in the face of uncertain outcomes or adversity, which may or may not lead to a new career opportunity, but it is a far better alternative to not doing anything with no results in the end. And so, in other words, it's better to act and say you tried than to not act at all. So if there's anything we want to take away from this presentation, these 5 main skills, if you could cultivate them to make them a way of life, just in your career path, you'll be far more open to unplanned or chance events that'll come your way. And so the diagram on the screen here illustrates the various internal and external factors of how you can create your own luck in your career and life and turn chance events into new opportunities by being mindful that you don't need to have your goals permanently set in stone, as goals in our careers and life can and will shift over time. Unplanned life events are inevitable to all of us, and sometimes the outcome may prove better than anticipated. And it is essential to engage in exploration of new experiences, activities, and events in order to broaden your thinking and self-educate yourself. Next, It is okay to make mistakes, experience the occasional failure along the way, and to use these as learning opportunities. And these are nothing to ever feel shameful for. We all make mistakes, but the main point is that we learn from it and that we keep going. And having a growth mindset, as I mentioned in the previous slide, of embracing change, new experiences will assist you more than a fixed mindset, which does not foster progress in an individual for change. And all these factors in the pink balloons collaboratively create new opportunities from serendipity. And so this is just another way that you can look at how you can create your own luck. Okay, so now I just wanted to share with you some success stories of how the rich and famous found their career path by chance events, and hope this provides some indication that serendipity can happen to anyone in their career path, including yourselves. So first up, we have our Canadian star, Justin Bieber. He is a singer, songwriter, and performer. And his story goes that at 12 years old, he was uploading videos to YouTube of him singing at home. And these videos quickly garnered views from 100 to 1,000, etc. And eventually, an American music manager starting their own label saw one of Justin's videos and saw that he had 60,000 plus views of him performing at a local church. So this music manager tracked Justin down by calling every school district in the southwestern area of Ontario until he found his family and spoke to Justin's mother regarding what he thought of Justin's talent and how he could make him a singing star. He convinced his mother to get on a plane. They had actually never been on a plane before. And Justin and his mother were then flown to Atlanta, Georgia to meet another singer and performer by the name of Usher. And Justin's career catapulted from there, all by chance and thanks to YouTube. Next, we have Oprah Winfrey. So she is another success story that was by pure chance. So she's an American talk show host, producer, actress, author, and philanthropist. And how her story plays out is at 17 years old, she participated in a local beauty pageant and won a contest largely from her answers that she gave. She stated that she wanted to be a journalist in later life. And after the interview, the DJ in the radio station got her to read a few lines, and others heard her on tape and how she spoke and how she conducted herself. She was then contacted by a telecommunications company and offered her first job in broadcast. So that is an amazing story. And last, we have our star here. This is Harrison Ford, and he is an American actor. And his story plays out, he was a young man who moved to Hollywood about 40, 50, or 60 years ago now to pursue acting. And at first he wasn't getting far, so he opted to work as a carpenter instead to support himself and his family. So he did some home renovations for George Lucas, who was a young director at the time, and other prominent show business figures. These connections helped him land small movie parts. However, his big break was during the Star Wars casting call in the late 70s. He was building a door near the casting call, and the production crew, including George Lucas, who I just mentioned, he was the director, asked Harrison to co-read with the other actors auditioning there. And there were some big A-list actors auditioning there for the roles of Star Wars. However, in the end, the director felt that Harrison was the best man suited for the role of Han Solo in Star Wars. That is one of the main characters. And Harrison's acting career took off from there, and he never looked back since. And so we can see from these three celebrity examples how chance worked in their favor. However, they acted on the chance and created their own success by taking that risk. And so I have a question for the audience. So when opportunity knocks on your door, are you going to open the door and welcome it into your home or your life? Or are you going to leave the door closed? The choice in the end is ultimately up to you for change. So, you know, I mean, if it happened to me, it can certainly happen for you. So I certainly do encourage you to take risks in your career and everything, because the end result may prove very positive. And that leads me into my next question for everyone. So if we could kindly go back to menti.com, I would love to hear from you again. So my question for you is, how willing are you to take risks in your career when a chance event happens? Okay, is it yes, no, or maybe? Okay, I'm seeing some great answers. Okay, all right. Like, I'm very happy to see that there's a lot of risk takers out there. This actually helps to give me some inspiration as well. Wow. Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing, everyone. And I certainly do hope that after this presentation that you have a little bit more inspiration, but I think that you're all on the right path by wanting to take some risks in your career. And so thank you so much for sharing, everyone. These are great answers. Okay, so now I would like to discuss with you some practices and tips and how you can create your own luck as a student for your own career success. So a major contributor to your career success is learning and skill development throughout life. This is primarily done through engaging in educational activities that are either academic, vocational, such as learning a skill or a trade, or nurturing a hobby, such as learning a new language, playing a sport or a musical instrument, something you always wanted to do or had an interest for. Also, when starting your university education, instead of thinking as a major to be accomplished, ask yourself, what questions would you like your education to answer? So for example, a graphic design student might ask, how can I foster graphic design skills in order to build a web page? Or a counseling student might ask, how can I best treat youth with trauma and depression? And if a student asks themselves these questions, they will be more motivated and self-directed in the classes and programs they choose. Additional questions students can ask themselves pertain to their values, their interests, and present skills. So what have you always wanted to learn but didn't have time for? And the end result is that if a student takes a class that piques their interest, they're more likely to encounter a chance event that will lead to future learning or another opportunity like that. And a testament to this is when I was in my career development practitioner program about 4 years ago, the question I wanted my program to answer was, how can I help people become more resilient in their career search, foster greater work-life balance, and bounce back, or to develop resilience during unforeseen events like such as layoffs or getting let go from a job. And this is probably what motivated me more than treating my program like a project that needed to be completed just to be completed. Like, I felt that I had a greater purpose to go and complete that program. So I just wanted to share that, and that'll probably work in your favor if you have the same mindset like that. So next is the use of career interest tests and assessments, which are very useful in terms of gaining a description of an individual's interests, values, and skills, and matching them with similar career fields. However, the planned happenstance model also looks at dissimilar interests in order to invite further discussion and learn new interests. This helps foster a sense of encouragement in the individual, as we are not born knowing how to encourage ourselves to investigate new interest areas. We learn the skill of self-encouragement from someone who has encouraged us to take action on our own behalf. In other words, how do you ever know that you have an interest in something or have an aptitude for it until you get out of your comfort zone and try? And it's never too late to try something new, and it's better late than never. And some examples of career tests and assessments that you can use are the VIA survey of career strengths. That is a free online assessment. If you contact us, we'd be more than happy to share that with you. The MBTI, which is a personality test, and the Clifton Strengths, which is a measure of your strengths. And of course, as we have emphasized in many previous webinars, please ensure that you are networking on a regular basis to increase your career success. And some common venues consist of leveraging and using your social media platforms, such as LinkedIn, which is the preferred choice for business and careers. Facebook and Instagram are also great avenues as well. If you are new to professional networking, please start with baby steps and practice with your classmates or colleagues. Have a quick coffee chat, and this could potentially lead to finding a mentor also. So please remember also to give back when someone has helped you in your network, and this could be paying it forward in the form of volunteering or having a conversation with someone who is new to your network or just new to networking in general. We certainly want to help others out in that respect. Also, be consistent and follow up with people in your network. This could be commenting, liking on their posts, and checking in periodically, either formally or informally. And this also helps you to get out of your comfort zone. And you want to attend those online and in-person events where possible, and be sure to network with at least 1 to 2 participants that you find there. Join professional associations and stay abreast of new information. You can also join a committee. You can partake in their webinars or their seminars. There's so much to do with the professional associations. Finally, job fairs are an excellent way to learn about a company, meet potential employers, and submit your resume for your next great job opportunity. And in addition to networking, this segues into conducting those informational interviews, which is something I love to do. So the main purpose of an informational interview is to reach out to industry professionals in order to learn about your occupation of interest and what career options are out there. This is done by seeking advice about what qualifications you need and how to best market to potential employers. It's also an opportunity to not only expand your network, but practice your networking skills. And with practicing your networking skills, you are building new relationships with like-minded people in the industry. And finally, once you do conduct a full informational interview, you want to ensure that you ask for a referral to someone else to talk to as a means to grow your professional network. Next, an excellent venue to gain on-the-job experience is through volunteering, paid and unpaid internships, and or co-op placements. So not only do you gain vocational experience, you are also networking and broadening your competencies and skills. And the benefit of volunteering is that if it's not the right fit, you can always try something else without having to commit. And likewise with internships, they're usually short in duration, which gives you a great idea regarding what you like and don't like about the position. And in many instances, volunteer and internship positions may lead to a potential job since the employer already knows you and trusts you. And this is actually what happened to me when I completed my BA in psychology many years ago. I volunteered for a psychiatric hospital for a year as a research assistant. And when a job came up, they asked me first if I wanted it because they knew me and knew my work. And I 100% took it and never looked back. I have long since left research, but at the time it was the best thing for my career because it took off from there. And so chance events can and do happen all the time. So please keep an eye out for them. And finally, it is always important to practice financial planning throughout your career for the unexpected. So a sudden unemployment or those rainy days that come up, by being creative and resourceful. So for instance, if one job doesn't work out, what else can I do, or what other options are available to me? And maintaining a healthy work-life balance by having hobbies and activities outside of work are key to the longevity of your career path. And remember that self-care is healthcare. And if we are not taking care of ourselves, we won't be as productive as we can be at our jobs, and professional burnout can happen. So please remember to practice self-compassion and reward yourself for a job well done, whether it's a term paper or a project at work, etc. And before we wrap up, again, I would love to hear from the audience, and I wanted to hear from you. What are some other ways that you can gain information to create chance events? And please remember that there are no wrong answers. I would just love to hear what ideas you have, because I would also love to learn from you as well. So if there's anything you can think of, like coffee chat with a friend, maybe having a conversation with a past professor or something like that. So you could all please go back to menti.com and enter in the code at the top of the screen. That'll be wonderful. And the question again is, what are some other ways you can gain information to create chance events? Just give it a second. Seminars, wow, that's a great idea. Very good. Just gonna wait for a few more answers. Reach out to an old friend. I love it. Yes, please talk to past employers and friends. Talk to your faculties. That's great. Wonderful answers, everyone. This is great information. Yes. Wonderful. Talk to your faculties, great. Volunteer. Oh, wow. Okay, good. So people in just, yeah, that's great. Just have to see mixers. Okay, perfect. Excellent. Great answers, everyone. And I love to see the participation and everything. And it seems you all have the right idea of where to potentially get a chance event like that. So I'm glad that you all have such great information. And I'm also learning from you as well. And so thank you so much for sharing, everyone. I love it. All right. So I just wanted to leave you all with some take-home points of what we've discussed today, as I know that planned happenstance is a little different from what we're used to in terms of career planning. And so if anything, please remember that unplanned life events can and do happen all the time, and they can be opportunities for career growth. Secondly, being indecisive is okay, and it fosters open-mindedness and exploration. Next, try to practice the big 5 of curiosity, persistence, flexibility, optimism, and risk-taking in your career planning until it eventually becomes a way of life in your behavior towards your career planning and also as a practice. And finally, you can help create your own luck in life through lifelong learning, regular career and interest assessments, networking and informational interviews, and engaging in volunteering and other work-related placements. And here's a quote that I wanted to share with you that highlights the essence of what we've been discussing today. And that is, "Fortune favors the prepared mind" by Louis Pasteur. So in other words, you are more likely to experience chance events in life by actively keeping an open mind. And Louis Pasteur was a French chemist and microbiologist renowned for his discoveries in the principles of vaccination, fermentation, and pasteurization. And that last term, pasteurization, was actually named after him. And so most likely Louis Pasteur must have encountered chance events in his research and career in order to uncover these discoveries. So good case in point. And here, once again, is our YU and TFS job boards. And we just recently launched the TFS job board, so I suggest you check them regularly as we receive job leads on a regular basis, and we post them straight away. So this page is available exclusively to Yorkville and TFS students, so you will need your institutional login credentials to access it. And thank you so much, everyone, for participating and sharing your time with us today. Really appreciate it. Please know that Career Services is here to support you in every stage of your career planning. That's why we're here. And you can reach out to us via email at careerservices@yorkvilleu.ca or careerservices@torontofilmschool.ca. I repeated the website address of the career portal on the slides, so please be sure to check us out and come visit us. And now I'm more than happy to take any questions that you may have. So I will pass the floor over to Linda, who will oversee that. Thank you so much, everyone.
Great. Thank you so much, Heather. If you could stop sharing your slides, then I'm going to read out some of the questions that we have from the audience. But before I do that, I just want to say how fascinating the webinar was. It's a completely different and important way of looking at career. And it makes me think about my training as a career practitioner, and I'm sure that my colleagues on the team might have a similar experience where this sort of turns what we learned on its head, because we are taught to work with clients to, take them through assessments, and basically with the idea being come up with a career goal and then, go after that. And although that's still an excellent approach, it's not all there is. And particularly in light of the amount of change that we're seeing in the world today, it's really important to remain flexible and open-minded and being willing to change your plans in light of that. So I think this makes that feeling of uncertainty that we have certainly all been experiencing for the past few years have a positive side to it, that actually, you hear all these amazing success stories of these celebrities who we all admire and are fans of, in addition to yourself, who I'm also a fan of. Anyway, so yeah, I appreciate that. So I'm going to move on to the questions. And that was a great segue to the first question, actually, which is, the pandemic has changed my plans for my career, and I'm feeling uncertain. If you're saying I need to get out there, more to take advantage of unplanned events. How do you suggest that I do that in a world where people are working more virtually now than ever before, so there's not as many chances to meet people?
Okay, so one thing that I would certainly implore this individual to do is to join an online webinar or anything online to start with those baby steps. And I know that things are going back in person very slowly, so certainly do jump on the bandwagon, capitalize on those as well. And I would also like to share, please use LinkedIn as a leveraging vehicle. And I know sometimes when you're reaching out to employers, you will get a lot of no's, but eventually somebody will say yes to you, and just agree to have like a quick chat or something like that, and just kind of use that as a seed and just to grow from there. I would just want to say, please be persistent. Do not get discouraged. It's too easy to get discouraged, but don't get discouraged. I've been discouraged before, but I actually don't get discouraged anymore because I'm a very determined and persistent person, but you just have to keep at it, and eventually somebody will say yes. Okay. All right. So, I just want to share that. I hope that helps to answer the question.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much. Next question is, I want to make sure that I'm marketable for jobs in the future, even when I'm not looking, but I'm so busy. What are some small things I can do?
Okay. So the question is, the person just wants to see like how they can make themselves more marketable, just kind of given everything that's going on. Okay.
Yeah,
So
but they're too busy. So they're just looking for ideas for small things that they can fit into their very busy days to make themselves more marketable.
Okay. So first of all, I would say, like, please do make just a tiny sliver of time just to kind of beef up your resume, your cover letter, your LinkedIn profile, even if it's just for half an hour per day, just to sort of like work on your LinkedIn profile like that. We have wonderful resources here that instruct you how to make it more marketable and more eye-catching. Please do that. Work on your resume like that. And also the beauty of networking. Please just make a little bit of time, maybe like 15 to like 30 minutes per week, just to like reach out to one person on LinkedIn and just start from there. But that's one thing that I will definitely say that'll work in your favor if you have a busy schedule like that, because once your LinkedIn profile is professional and it's eye-catching and everything like that, people will seek you out. Like, I have had employers and recruiters actually come and seek me out after all the time I've spent on my LinkedIn profile like that. And so that'll sort of work itself out like that. So I just hope that helps to answer the question.
Yeah,
those very busy folks.
I agree, Heather. And the way that I like to think of it is using that metaphor. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? And so, when I think about it, in fact, it was just recently I was speaking to a student who was at this stage of his job search where he's done pretty much everything he can online and he needs to start meeting people. So when I was pitching the idea of actually setting up informational interviews, because he hadn't done it before, I could tell that he was overwhelmed. And so we broke it down. Like with anything that's overwhelming, I recommend that you just break it down so that you can see how big a task is this actually. And so together we came up with some names of people he could approach. And then I asked him to just set a goal to reach out to 2 people by next week, and I'll check in with you next week. And all of a sudden that felt much more doable because he had some details behind it.
Very true. And I'm all about the baby steps, especially if you're not used to it. And if you're brand new to it, talk to a fellow classmate, talk to a professor, just start with the baby steps from there, and it won't be as daunting. And then you can build from there. And trust me, it'll definitely go fast, but start with the baby steps. I'm all about the baby steps.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Okay, here's an interesting question. Is there an assessment where I can learn my current level of the planned happenstance skills? You mentioned those 5 skills. And how can I develop in my weak areas? Because if we're supposed to be developing these skills, what if we're just not very good at them at this point, or some of them?
That's an excellent question. Wow. So my best guess is I would do one of the personality assessments or inventory, like the MBTI, and just to see like where your like top code is and just what your strengths are, and any place where you're lacking, like say you're not that much of a risk taker. Okay, perhaps you can set small risks for yourself and scaffold and build from there. So I would say just kind of do like a strengths inventory, the MBTI or the VIA, the character strengths, and just see where you're lacking, and just see how I can build from there. If you're not very persistent, let's say, that might be a question for you to ask, well, why am I not persistent? Like, what is getting in the way? And if I could also add, just having a growth mindset like that, I think will help to unlock just many of those weaknesses that people might have with the big five, because that is something that really helps to move you forward with Plan Happenstance. If you're the sort of person who's open-minded to feedback and believes that they can change with hard work and by learning new things, that'll help you to move forward, as opposed to someone who has a very black and white way of thinking, where it's fixed, where like I'm either good at something or I'm not, or like it can't get better because I'm not good at it. That's not the way you want to think. That won't help you in your career going forward. And these are things that you can learn. And with practice, remember the old saying, how practice makes perfect? Well, I like to believe that practice does make better in that respect. So if you practice these things day after day, and if you think in that way day after day, it does become more of a way of life. So just start with a personality test, see where you're lacking, and see how you can build and scaffold from there. And then remember, baby steps are okay. I've used baby steps all throughout my life, and like it's worked for me. So I hope that helps.
For sure. And our career advisors can help with this too. We actually have a skills assessment that we use with students called Skills Scan. And, you complete a bunch of questions, and then you get a report that shows what are your top skills, and then, what are skills that you would like to develop, and some suggestions on how to do that as well. And the thing is that there's specific labels for these 5 skills. And so if the skill scan assessment, for example, uses different language, different words to describe the skills, just look for the words that basically mean the same thing. And certainly you can set up an appointment with your career advisor to get some coaching on how you can develop your skills as well. So that's always available to you.
Absolutely.
Okay, I see a question in the chat from Hilal. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. It seems difficult to be a successful psychologist due to the competition with other psychologists. How can I attract patients? Would I need to take a risk?
Okay, so with respects to attracting patients to maybe grow your own private practice, because I think that's where the question is coming from, just in that respect, I would say absolutely take a risk in like this respect. In a competitive industry where you have to compete for clients and everything like that, please try multiple venues. I know there's Psychology Today, which you can advertise yourself on. There's also social media, which I wouldn't be surprised if some psychotherapists have actually started there through Facebook or through LinkedIn, and the way they market themselves, the way they advertise themselves. Also, have a quick 1 minute chat with someone at the gym or at the yoga studio or at your favorite coffee shop or something like that. Maybe even leave your advertisement on a bulletin board at the local coffee shop, because that's what I've done in the past. I also work as a dance teacher, and that's actually how I had attracted more students to come to my school. I actually went to coffee shops and I put up my ad on every single bulletin board like that, and it worked. Also, you might want to also try to advertise through your local community center, because they support that, and they have billboards where you can put that up. So please do take a risk, and remember, start with small risks like that. If that's something that you're not used to, and if risk taking just gives you just a lot of stress and anxiety, just please reach out to us, because we could coach you on just how to take a risk, and so it's not as daunting. We're like not asking you to do anything big and grand or anything like that. It's just to take a small risk to get out of your comfort zone, and it can be done. It can be done. And so I hope that helps you.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
And then we have another question from Jigar. I wanted to be in my animation industry. Is it okay to change your field, like from a rendering artist, and this person has 2 years experience with that, to modeling or animation, and the person has no professional experience, and start building the portfolio for that if the demand is there in the market? Or should I stick to my field and keep looking for the job in which I have experience because I'm interested in both domains?
So So I just want to share, I'm certainly going to take my best guess at it just because I'm not an expert in the creative industries, but I would love to invite some of my colleagues who are just the real gurus in this respect, but I will take a go at it. So I have to say, I think that you're very wise to scan the job market right now to see where the jobs are at and everything. However, if you have a passion and an interest for what you want to do, you know, please try to pursue that in like the best that you can. But I love how you're also being open-minded to doing something else, like just in that respect. Should you change? I want you to make that decision. Please seek consultation from some of your teachers or maybe like a mentor in your program to see maybe what some other students are doing like that, just before you make a change like that. But I also just want to share, I changed my major in my degree many times and it all worked out in the end. I went from theater to psychology to counseling, to research, to being a career development practitioner. So I just want to share that no matter what you do, that even if you do change your path and you do something else, there's many roads to Rome. So you'll be successful no matter what you do. But I would also seek consultation just before you make that big change and everything. Okay. I'd love to invite some of my colleagues who are experts in the career industry, if you don't mind sharing a few words.
Yeah, thank you, Heather. I think you really covered the majority of it. But I will say, don't let the fact that you don't have experience stop you from trying to transition into an area that you are interested in. What I would say is if you are trying to move from a rendering artist to modeling and animation, then you're going to need to start to build up those skills in that area. So maybe that looks like continuing on in rendering while you assess what the labor market is looking for from someone who's working in modeling and animation, building your portfolio, taking on side projects or side gigs to ultimately build up your experience so that you can start to market yourself that way, make those connections. But definitely, you know, assess if it's right for you. Don't feel stuck to one area because that's the area you're starting off in. Again, like Heather said, people change careers up to around 12 times in their life. That's a lot of time. So you have the time, you have the experience to, you know, and you can gain that experience to move on and move towards a different role. And again, you can reach out to us at Career Services and we can talk about how you might start to market yourself more towards those positions.
I would definitely agree with what both of my colleagues have said. And I would add to that, certainly when I've coached clients about career targets in the past, I usually recommend that you don't just set one goal, but set 3 goals concurrently, because you want to be able to have a plan B and a plan C. I ended up at Yorkville. It was actually my plan B, ended up, you know, transitioning into director position. And this is a perfect example of planned happenstance because it wasn't my plan A. And it couldn't have worked out better, to be very honest with you. There's no timeline attached to this other than your own. And, you know, you could end up in your plan C job or your plan A job, and it could happen, you know, a year or more later than what you initially conceived. Just always have something that you're working towards. Okay, I've got another question here. If I have a lot of experience and have been in the industry before, do you think it's appropriate to reach out to past employers or coworkers that I've worked with in the past, even if I've not talked to them in years?
Great question. So one thing I will say is that I definitely do think it's great. Like if you had a good relationship and a good rapport with these past employers and coworkers, absolutely, please do reach out to them. It's okay if you haven't spoken to them in a long time and everything. I mean, people get busy and everything, but I think just as long as you have a polite and courteous way of reaching out to them and you have a goal or an objective or like just to check in and say like, hi, how's it going, like that, and just kind of go from there and just keep it professional. Like I think that's completely okay. I've reached out to people who I haven't spoke to in years too. And our relationship was really good when we worked as coworkers or even with like past employers. And so that's okay. I mean, I still speak to some of my old supervisors at the University of Ottawa, and it's been 16 years, and that's fine. So don't be shy about doing that. And I hope that helps you.
Absolutely. I actually recently reconnected with somebody that I was friends with in university that I hadn't connected with in 37 years. No, I'm
Wow.
dating myself a little bit, but in any case, you know, more often than not, the person is thrilled to hear from you, and it's a chance to reconnect on both sides. So absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Mhm.
We have another question in the chat here. You mentioned that most people change careers 12 times in life. Does that include small job changes in the same industry, or are these entirely different careers every time?
That's an excellent question. So everyone is different. Everyone's story is different. That stat basically says that people will change jobs 12 times in their life. So these are more likely different careers is what I'd like to say. I mean, I already know that I've changed jobs. I've well past the 12 job mark in that respect. But I myself right now have probably had at least 3 major career changes since I started working many, many moons ago like that. And for some people, they might be some minimal career changes, like you could go from being a social service worker to a social worker, and then a career counselor, and then to a full-blown psychologist like that. I've actually known some people who have had very sort of polar job changes where they've worked as an engineer for 25 years, and then they decided to be a counselor just in that respect. Or someone who was a lawyer for 20 years and always had a dream to work in film, and they decided at 50 years old that they wanted to go to the Vancouver Film School. So everyone's story is different, but I have to say that in terms of job changes and career changes, that these are most likely career changes that people will have like that.
Okay, terrific. How about just one more question? I'm loving the engagement from the audience. We are all about this at Career Services. Okay. If I keep taking unplanned opportunities, how do I connect the experiences for a job I want down the line?
Okay, so just so I'm clear, so the question is how can they take all the experience they've had from all their work experience and to move it forward is the question?
A little bit different, I think, Heather. It sounds like this person is hearing you that they need to actually take advantage of unplanned opportunities more. So it's a little bit outside of work experience, okay? It's any kind of unplanned activities. So let's say they do that, you know, volunteer, network, go to events, just, you know, meet people in a coffee shop, or, you know, in a parents group, or whatever it is. These are all examples of unplanned events. So if somebody is wanting to do more of that and they start doing more of that, how do they connect those experiences and convert that into a job that they might want down the line? How can they market themselves for a job that they want based on those different experiences that they have engaged in?
Okay, perfect. So one thing that I would like to share with this person is when you do engage in those chance events, like when you go to that wine and cheese, or when you go to that webinar or whatnot, or like talk to that prof, I would actually jot down things that you liked from that engagement. So say you went to a seminar that talked about the rates of depression in youth or something like that. I would talk about what you liked from that experience and what sort of piqued your interest, and almost keep like a diary, or what I have, like I actually have a business plan where I have my dream job, but I also have like things that I'm also interested in, and I just sort of map them out like that. I just keep a running tab of things that I like, and then I revisit that business plan, and I actually think, so how can I get to this? So I like this, and this. How can I get to that like that? And once I've made a decision on what I do like and how I do want to move forward, I start to compile it with things like, okay, well, how can I get there? So just to sort of share something with you, when I moved to Vancouver, I knew I was done with research. Like I couldn't go back to it anymore, but I had this master's degree in counseling that I never really used. And I had my fair share of being in and out of jobs. So I just really felt this calling to want to help people in their jobs. And it was just by chance that I Googled career counseling, that I found the career development practitioner program. And that's when a light bulb just kind of went off, you know, just like that. And I pursued it. I did the program, and that's what landed me this job. So I would write down from like every experience that you have, like through like a coffee chat or going to a webinar, write down things that you like and revisit that time and time again. And that'll prime your thinking like that. And just start with that. Just start with that roadmap, and then just kind of build from there, like that, because this will take time. Just when you do make a decision to move forward like that, keep a business plan, because it's helped me. Okay.
Yeah.
Really
And this,
something of that nature.
yeah, this makes me think about the tool that we have on our career portal called the Career Wheel. And I actually did 2 webinars on that topic as well, which are available on the webinars tab. So it's Career Wheel Part 1 and Part 2, where it asks you to do just that, to actually reflect on all of these different elements of your life and different experiences that you've had, and look for the common themes. So I have put that link in the chat. And just as a final wrap up, I want to hand it over to Alex. If you can talk for a minute, Alex, about the next webinar that's coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. So our next webinar coming up on November 22nd. I will pop it into the chat. It's going to be at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and it's all about learning about careers in your field, how you can explore your career options, and how you can actually conduct that information and gather all of that information that you're going to need to embark on your next steps and make that plan. And that will be hosted by Amanda Lecce. So yeah, I'm going to pop that into the chat, and we hope to see you there. I'll put the registration link as well.
Thanks so everybody. Thanks so much. That's all we have for today. Hope to see you at the next webinar, and enjoy the rest of your day, and celebrate Canada Career Month like we are. Take care. Bye.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.